Okay, now these are the checkpoint exercises, and I'm going to work each of these exercises so you can see additional examples. So by the time I'm done here, you'll have a total of 8 examples that you can use. Now for the first one, it said solve x squared minus 6 equals negative 5x. So I'm going to actually factor this to get my solutions. You could graph it or you could factor it, but we need to practice our factoring because we will not always have a graphing calculator. So first I put it in standard form, x squared plus 5x minus 6 equals 0. Now the next thing I'm going to do is say, well, what multiplies to 6 but adds to 5? And I look at it, since it's a 1 out here, so that's all I have to worry about. And 6 is 3 times 2, right? And then, but it's a negative, so if I put in negatives, well, that's a positive 6, so that doesn't work. Okay, so maybe that's not it. So let's try, what about 6 and 1? So 6 and 1, that might work. A 6 times a 1, well, it has to be negative, and then this has to be positive. So let's try a plus and a minus. 6 times 1, that's a negative 1, would give me negative 6. That partially works. And then 6 minus 5, aha, we've got it. These are our two factors because 6 minus 1 equals 5, and then 6 times negative 1 equals a negative 6. Now the next step is to set each factor equal to 0. So x minus 1 equals 0, and x plus 6 equals 0. So x equals 1, and then x equals negative 6. So those would be our two solutions. If you do have a graphing calculator, graph it, make sure that those are correct. Okay. The next example is example 2. Okay. On example 2, and you should have tried these already, this is actually checkpoint exercises number 2. I have x squared plus 9 equals 6x. So again, first thing I want to do, there's no common like terms that I have to take out. So first thing is put it in standard form, x squared minus 6x plus 9 equals 0. Now let's look at this. It's in standard form. There's nothing I can factor out. And we want to find multiples of 9 that add to 6. Well, 9 and 1 definitely can't add to 6, but what about 3 and 3? So x, and then I'm going to do plus 3, plus 3. Well, that would work to add to 9, but it has to be a negative 6. So let me change those to minus, okay? Negative 3 times negative 3 equals 9. And then negative 3 plus negative 3 equals a negative 6. So that equals 0, and that works. Now, these two are the same, so I only really need to do one of them. X minus 3 equals 0. So x equals negative 3. So this is one of those solutions where you have two of the same. Now, number 3, we work it as x squared minus 7x equals negative 15. Now, when you work this problem, again, there's no common factors, but first let's put it in standard form. X squared minus 7x plus 15 equals 0. Now let's look at it. Factors of 15 that add to 7. Well, 5 times 3 is 15, but that adds to 8 or a negative 2. Let's try, let's see, could we do 15 and 1? No, that's not going to work because 15 plus 1 is 16. 15 minus 1 is 14. So there's really, I don't see any factors that are going to work to 7. So this one is no solution. Okay, sometimes there can be a solution, but it's just not factorable. But also when you graph it, you can see that this goes in a positive direction. And let's find negative b over 2a. So negative b is negative 7. It's a negative 7 over 2a, which is 2. So in this case, I get 7 halves, which is 3.5. So I know that it is at about 3.5. So it's going to go this direction. It's going to go in a positive direction. Now, when I plug this into my equation, I would have 7/2 squared minus 7 times 7/2 plus 15. And if I look at this, I could see this is going to be 49/4 minus 49/2 plus 15. Okay. Now at this point, it'd probably be easier to just convert to decimals. 49/4, because of the fourths are pretty, we're not going to end up with some repeating. So let's say 49 divided by 4 is 12.25 minus 49 divided by 2, and I get 24.5 plus 15. So 24.25, so I'm going to do 12.25 plus 15. I get 27.25 minus 24.5. Obviously this is going to be minus 24.5. So I'm going to get 2.75. So what this tells me automatically is that since this is a positive number, my vertex here is going to be at 3.5, and then up here, and it goes in a positive direction. So I already know, since I don't have a graphing calculator, I'm sketching it out and I'm saying, well, I can verify that I have no solution because it goes in a positive direction and my vertex is above the x-axis. So it's definitely no solution. And again, if you have a graphing calculator, that can make it easier, but you're not always allowed to use it. So we got to use our noodle and just think about it and work with what we know. All right. Last problem, number 4. And I'm going to have to work quickly. Number 4 says f of x equals negative x squared plus 6x minus 5. Should already have worked this one, but to check your answer, when you do this one, we set it equal to 0, negative x squared plus 6x minus 5 equals 0. And then I'm going to change all of the signs, x squared minus 6x plus 5 equals 0. And then let's see what we can factor it into. 5 is 5 and 1. I think that'll work. So 5 and 1, and then the question is which one is, and it must be negative and negative because it's a negative 6. So negative 5 plus negative 1 is negative 6. But then a negative 5 times a negative 1 gives me a positive 5. So that equals 0. So x is going to equal to 1, and x is going to equal to 5. So those would be my 2 solutions for that problem, and that does match with the key. So make sure you try these on your own. Just watching me won't give you the practice that you need in order to do it on your own when you're testing. Good luck.